Okay.
How's that? Are you getting my Christmas tree?
Yep.
But I wanted to have this floor lamp out of here, but do you think it detracts or not?
No, it looks fine.
Okay.
All right. So.
Oh wait, maybe there's one more thing. One more thing.
T20. It should be on T30.
Okay. This has got to be. It's got to be.
Okay. So this is running.
Okay, but you have to do this. Now you mean we're wasting film here?
No, it's okay. I've got plenty.
Well, there, I want you to do something. I want you to attach this. Now, I wanted to talk to you, Michael, about some very important things. The direction of your life. At age 35, you have decided to follow your heart.
Yes.
And proceed into the IT situation. Or
Yes.
commercialization of IT.
But I wanted this to be more about you than the.
Really.
Yes.
Everyone loves to talk about himself or herself, as the case may be. There is no other character in the whole lexicography who is more interesting than you or me. And isn't that too bad? Because it says in the good book that we should be interested in our fellow man and love him as ourselves. But that's hard to do, Michael. Do I have on enough lipstick?
You look wonderful.
Okay.
I want to just talk to you about almost everything under the sun. And I want to pretend as if you were not necessarily talking to me, but talking to a wider audience. Maybe people who don't know you.
I have talked to many a wide audience. In the scope of my life, I have delivered an address in front of a group of 300 or 400 people on the subject of the rehabilitation of the blind. Now I find myself half blind. Isn't that hilarious? That's hilarious.
How ironic.
Well, it is, but I don't even, let us not even think about it. I have had many blind friends. Those who were
Such as?
adventitiously blind, those who were congenitally blind, and I think, my heavens, see this plant? I can see it. If I want to look at something, and I have eyesight, corners of my eyes are good, I just don't have any direct vision. Is that the camera over there?
Yep. So you can see peripherally,
Oh, yeah.
but not in the center. Why is that?
Because I have macular degeneration, and the degeneration is occurring. Central vision. I mean, there's of course a medical term for this, but who cares?
When did that start?
Sudden, just bang. I was driving home from having visited a good friend in a nursing home, and driving along the road heavily in my car, and all of a sudden a car passed me and honked, which indicated that there was something very wrong with my driving.
Yeah.
Because he'd been on that. And I thought, my gosh, I can't see. And I couldn't, and I...
So it may have been coming along slowly, but that was the moment that you realized
but
it.
you never know it. It is, you know, you wouldn't know it.
Yeah.
Over the years, you wouldn't know. But anyway, I managed to get home and get in the car in the garage, and that was it. I thank the good Lord I got it.
Yeah. So you used to work with the blind years ago. How did you get trained to do that? Why did you decide to start doing that in the first place?
No, there was no decision made, and how I got the job was because I graduated Bachelor of Science in Home Economics, but that home ec included so many things. Education, I had a lot of education courses. It included all of the manual arts, of course. I mean, kitchen arts and homemaking arts, which you would do in teaching the blind. So my home economics degree is what actually did it, although I have K through 12 certification, so I could teach any grade, so I could go into the school for the blind and teach the kids in 4th grade. So I was well qualified for this job, and there was no training. I was just hired for the job. The reason I got the job at all was because I had taken the civil service exam and placed very high. And the people who wanted this, who wanted a worker, who needed a rehab teacher,
Yeah.
right away called me up, hired me for the job right away.
Where were you living?
That was in, at that time we lived in Mount Lebanon, Pennsylvania, because Don was working with the Austin company. Or was that Dervaux? Don might have been with Dervaux at that time. Because you know Graham was a professional engineer, and he was with engineering companies.
Yep.
But Dervaux and Austin, of course.
So why'd you go back to work then after, I assume that you
Because-
had not worked for a period of time.
Oh, no, well, we had moved a lot, and also in Michigan, in those days, people stayed home and looked after their kids. It was not the great, now you hardly find a woman at home in these houses. They're all out working somewhere. But in those days, people worked who had to, but not so much. And so the reason I worked in Manistee was that my children were all, by that time, in high school and getting ready for college, and I would have 4 people in college at once, and that
Yeah.
wouldn't hurt to be working. And I loved to work and get out and do something. I mean, I wasn't needed at home
Yeah.
all day long. So, of course, I took a job.
Okay.
And by that time, as I say, it was very common. After the war, it was more common for women to work. And by the time I got into the 60s, a lot of people were. It was beginning to be the trend that you see now where nobody stays home.
Yeah.
So,
But prior to that, you didn't work.
no.
So tell me about that. Tell me. Let's go back to maybe your first home out of college. Let's go back to
But see,
Manistee
that was...
or Memphis. Nina.
See, we lived in so many places, Michael, and we moved so many times. But our first home was an apartment in Nina because Don was out of college and he was with Kimberly Clark at that time. And so I had to get married. I didn't have to. Erase that. I was so much in love that I wanted so much to be with Don Heiser. That was kind of puppy love, actually. But in any case, he was out of college, and I wasn't going to stay down in Madison all by myself and be in college when he was gone, although I did for a long time. I mean, a year. I don't know how long. Anyway, the minute that I could possibly talk my parents into allowing me to get married, and that didn't take too much talking because my father and mother were old-fashioned.
How'd you bring up the subject with them? They certainly knew you were dating.
Oh, I've been going with Don, senior in high school, went to proms with him and everything. And they thought he was a good kid. But remember, my mother and Madeline Cleaver sat out in the back porch and talked over the whole life of the town and of Billy and Patsy. My brother Billy and Patsy. And Madeline Cleaver and my mother decided that Don Heiser would be a very good catch. You know, Louis Heiser owns half of the land out there west of town. And he's a pretty rich farmer. And Louis Heiser has been known as one of the old line rich farmers of the area. Don wouldn't be a bad catch.
So, who is this Betty Cleaver, you said?
Madeline Cleaver.
Madeline Cleaver.
My
Sorry.
mother's friend. She lived up the street.
Okay.
Madeline Cleaver was an excellent woman. I just loved her.
How do you spell Cleaver? C-L-E-A?
K-L-E-E-B-E-R.
Oh, I see.
But she has nothing to do with this movie or this story.
Yeah.
She died at the age of 98. Her daughter's still living in Green Bay, Wisconsin. Margaret Cleaver was an attendant in my wedding, of course, because she's older than I. She's totally blind and has a seeing eye dog.
And was she blind when she was in your wedding?
No, she has macular degeneration worse than I.
Oh, I see.
As this is all old people stuff. Don't even think about it till they're about 85.
Uh-huh.
You know, it's but I only mentioned that because it's interesting.
So your mom sat on the porch and sort of made up her mind that this would be good.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And my father, of course, knew that every young girl would get married. So he just sat back and paid no attention and let the women arrange it. And so we were married. And it was a grand thing. And it lasted 60-some years already. And now where is he? He's out feeding the cat.
So how'd you first meet?
Oh, that was high school and Sunday school and all that. You in the same town, you just know the same people all the time.
So you probably met when you were kids.
Don says that he can remember in Sunday school when I was, about 7 or 8, and we were in the Presbyterian Sunday school. At that time, my brother had been shot in his eye with a BB gun by the Fike boys. And they were talking about it in the town because it was a terrible thing. And they were out playing, and the kids had a BB gun, and bingo, brother lost an eye in an accident. And in Sunday school, the teacher said, "Patsy, how is your brother?" And Don says he recalls hearing that particular incident in Sunday. Isn't that funny how you remember teeny things like that? So, but anyway, we always knew each other, more or less.
Okay.
I mean, on and off.
You once told me there was a funny story because you misunderstood the words of a rhyme that you had to memorize in Sunday school.
Oh, I love that. I love that. That happens all the time with children when they don't understand pronunciation. Certainly. Jesus sneaks through Humboldt Park.
What was it supposed to be?
Jesus seeks the humble heart. Jesus seeks the humble heart. Jesus sneaks through Humboldt Park. I love it. My mother said, "What did you learn in Sunday school today?" "Oh, Jesus sneaks through Humboldt Park." I love it.
So when did you go out on your first date?
I don't.
Is that
I don't
prom?
want to talk about that. The reason I don't is that it is such a big nothing in the total scope of things. The first time was the loyalty banquet. In those days, at the end of the school year, we had a loyalty banquet, and each class prepared a banquet table, and we had beautiful decorations. And ours was, we made a United States Capitol out of cardboard and stuff, and we were very patriotic. It was in wartime, remember?
Huh?
And we were a junior class, and we won. And I had come to that. It was a formal dinner, and the boys wore suits and ties, or at least they wore a white shirt and tried to dress up. No blue jeans allowed, that sort of thing. It was a very nice party. In those days, we had nice things. So the women, girls and girls were in formals, and the mothers and fathers could come and sit up in the balcony and look and see what was going on.
Yeah.
And I came to the party. Of course, I was on the committee, for heaven's sake. I should show the medals I won in high school, which are similar to football sweaters and letters that you get today. But anyway, I don't want to talk about that now, except that everything that was going on in school, I was in the midst of it for one reason or another. And not necessarily that I inserted myself in, but that kids would always say, "Oh, Patsy's going to be chairman of this or that," or I would say, "Well, I'll do it." Okay. So our table won. Our loyalty table was so pretty that we won first prize. And Don, who was a senior in high school at that time, they got flowers for their table to make it all nice. They went up in the cemetery at night and stole the flowers because it was near Decoration Day or Memorial Day, and there were fresh flowers in the cemetery. So his committee went up there and stole the flowers out of the cemetery. Our table was lovely with totally nice stuff. Oh, here he's coming in. I gotta hurry up. And I came with a fellow named Ira Perry, but I didn't go home with him. I went home with Don because Don said, "Can I take you home?" And Don had the family car that night. And so I went up the balcony. I said to my mother, Ellen Stover, they were sitting up there, and I said, "Well, you know, Don Heiser's asked me to go home, and do you think I should go?" This was after the dance. They didn't stay for the dance, and they said, "Yes, thank you. I think it'd be a good idea." See, they'd already decided he was pretty good.
Ah.
That's the end of that. Cut.
Okay.
So far, it was so lovely.
Yeah.
It really was a success, far more than I had hoped for. But anyway, people came from away, if they could come back to the home church. And this girl, aged about 50, because she said that she remembers Betsy, and she was so envious of Betsy when she was over at the swimming pool. She'd stay with Grandma Whitney or something. Betsy was really cute and dark, you know, and a good swimmer and all that. So this girl, whose name is Sherry Wiesenberg. And Sherry Wiesenberg remarried, so when I met her at this party, the thing, never mind, Sherry said to me, "Are you Betsy's mother? I know you." And I said, "Yes."
Mind the cord.
What's Betsy doing and all that stuff. And so, anyway, she said that she is a healthcare nurse in Milwaukee. And she has this client that she goes to see about once every week or so. And the client said, "Where are you from, Sherry?" And Sherry said, "I'm from Reedsburg." And the client said, "Oh, don't you know Pat and Don Heiser?" And Sherry said, "Well, of course I do." And Vera Piet said to her, she was looking at her, "Isn't that cute?"
My grandma
Vera Piet.
was her client.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
My other grandma.
And she said, "Well, we know Pat Heiser. She's a wonderful and terrible person. Steer clear of her."
So you said she came up and stayed with who? Grandma Bessie?
No, Betsy did. In the summertime, Betsy was here.
Oh, okay.
So that's how Sherry Wiesenberg, the Reedsburg girl,
Yeah.
she met her at the swimming pool, and she knew. But when I mentioned to Betsy, she said she couldn't remember Sherry Wiesenberg. But I said, "Sherry Wiesenberg remembers you." She said she was very envious of you. At that time, they were grade school, high school, junior high kids, you know, and having fun. And of course, she would look up to Betsy as an unusual, because she was from away.
Yeah.
And she had lived in Europe, and she lived with Grandma Whitney. Betsy never stayed out the farm, and she always stayed here.
Did you, when you were a kid, did you ever go to camps?
I did. I went to church camp over at Green Lake. And there's a very nice, beautiful, it's called La Sonia over at Green Lake. And this is a gated big campground. Now they've got a golf course over there. I went there in recent years to, I go to painting workshops.
Yeah.
And somebody's going back. And I do oil painting and sketching with a group that, you pay your money and you go over there and have a professor teach you for a week.
Yeah.
It's all through the university auspices, really. And you maybe get a half a credit or some, who cares what.
Yeah, and you put it toward your PhD.
Yeah, I did. And never finished my master's even, but anyway, I've lost all the credit slips and I think it's too late. Although I went as recently as maybe 10 years ago.
Yeah.
Anyway, so I went to the church camp over at Green Lake, Presbyterian church camp.
Okay.
You also went to the cottage in Devil's Lake.
Well, that had nothing to do with camp.
Oh, I thought that was a camp.
I don't know how you could mistake that. I've told you what happened there. If you think that was a church camp, I don't know where your mind was when I was telling you about it.
A bunch of girls at a cottage.
That's right, and they were up to no good. I told you Charlotte Donnie's her boyfriend was there every night. I told you all that.
I'm not.
Charlotte
I wasn't going into any details.
Well, you're forcing me to go into detail. That was not a church camp at all. That was 6 of us girls who went down there. It was Charlotte Donahue, Helen Lund, Carol Harrison. Was Helen Lund there? She wasn't there. I don't think. Mildred Jean Gehrig, Patsy Whitney, Jean Ann Stonke, Charlotte Donahue, and 2 more. Carol Harrison I can't remember.
Jean
Carol.
Roloff?
No, Jean Roloff was never allowed in anything. That's why she went mad in the end.
So where was this cottage then?
Devil's Lake. But that's nothing. That was just a week in the summer.
Yeah.
That was nothing. But of course it was our introduction into you know what. Should I tell that, Don?
No.
Oh. You brought it up. I think I'll tell Michael. He'll like it.
Okay, changing the subject
Yeah.
ever so gently. What's your earliest memory?
Oh, I love that one. Don, you got to think of your earliest memory now because turn that on.
It's on.
I thought you turned it.
I snuck it on. I've got a remote.
You sneaked it on. Don't use that
No,
word.
I sneaked it on,
That's another
sorry.
thing. I told you, in National Review magazine, my article was published on the horrors of saying S-N-U-C-K. It's not a word. You have to say sneaked. Look, if
Okay,
you...
we'll make a little list of all my sins as we go along here, and I'll
Alright.
ask you for absolution later.
always say sneaked, never say
Sneaked.
It makes me sick. The television commentators say, oh, he snuck the ball in the hole in the golf thing. Oh, they snuck into something. I was yelled at. I was beaten for saying such a word. It is sneak, sneaked, sneaked. That is the conjugation
Okay.
of the word, of the verb, to sneak.
Yeah.
I sneak, you sneak. They sneaked, we sneaked, everyone sneaked, and it was sneaked into the house, not snuck. Oh, oh. Okay,
Your earliest memory.
what was yours, Michael? Can you remember the time I first spanked you?
It's vivid in my memory, and I don't want to go there right now.
Too painful?
So,
Is
it's
it
too painful, yeah.
You were all 4 years old.
Well, one of my earliest memories is sitting on Grandpa Art's knee, having Grandpa Art bounce me up and down, and he would say, "Dad, Dad, 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 Dad."
That was Grandpa.
But I'm sometimes wonder if that isn't Adam
That was-
being bounced on Grandpa Art's knee, and I
that was
remember
Grandma
Adam.
Whitney.
No, Grandpa Whitney was dead by the time I was born.
Yes, he was. Yes, he was. He was dead. But see, he played with the children much more than Art ever did. That's why I said. But no, Grandpa Whitney was dead by the time you were born.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he was. Oh, yeah, long. Isn't that funny how I get mixed up like that? And yet I can remember my early childhood very well. Now, I know when my father died. He died in 1961. 62, my mother died in 71. So you were born in 73 or 4?
2.
See, I'm mixed up already.
That's okay. You got 14 birthdays, remember?
Well,
14 plus. Now great-grandchildren.
Oh, well, that's getting way out of hand. I mean, there is no way. And Neil is always calling up and saying that somebody's had a new baby. And I say, now, whose baby is that? Whose wife is that? It's very hard to keep track of. And keeping track of what they do for a living, for example,
Yeah.
is very hard. And then they name these children names that are not familiar to me, although I've read my Bible all my life. But Malachi, the last book in the Old Testament. And then there is Caleb, and there is Enoch. We love Enoch.
Yeah.
And who else have they got down that's interesting names? Well, there are many interesting names. The girls they don't worry about. They don't name them Esther or Ruth or Naomi. They name them Penny and Tiffany and whatever. And then the newest one now is named Emma, which is an excellent name.
Yeah.
That's a new baby. I like all their names. I don't mean to say that I don't like them. It's just that some are unusual to me, and some of them are currently popular. Like everybody's named Sherry,
Sure.
Judy.
Back to changing the subject. So what's your earliest memory?
I'm
Or
getting
what's
hard.
an early memory?
No, I'm going to go to the earliest, because otherwise that's the only important thing. And I can remember being a baby. A baby. And I'm a baby. And I'm in my baby buggy. And I had a nice, nice wicker baby buggy. I love to lie in. It was made out of beige wicker work and a splendid baby carriage. And I'm lying in my baby buggy, and there was a hood over the baby buggy, one of these canopy things, and it had round windows, glass windows in the sides. And I'm riding along, and my mother's talking and pushing the buggy, and I'm kicking my little feet, and I'm kicking my little arm. And in these little round windows, I can see leaves and vines and blue sky. I bet I was maybe 8 months old, maybe going on a year old.
Yeah.
I can remember that so well. And I love to think about it because it means that a person is being pampered and being set on a way of life,
Yeah.
as opposed to being some poor ragged urchin left in the wayside. You see what I mean?
So it's a good memory.
Oh, fun.
Yeah.
I didn't ever get over remembering it. I mean, probably I didn't think about it much until I got to be 14 or 16 or 18 years old, and I remembered that. There was a spell when I didn't.
Yeah.
But the child is father of the man, you know.
Yep. So we talked a little bit about high school, and then you went off.
Now, is that turned off?
The computer's turned on. I'm using the computer to guide my notes about what to talk about. Okay, college. So you went away to the University of Wisconsin, probably because Grandpa was there.
I wanted to go to Carroll College. And I wanted to go to Smith. My father had a fit about Smith because he said, you're not going out east to one of those high-tone colleges. They're way too expensive. I'm not made of money. Do you think that I can send you out east to some... That was the end of that conversation. Then I wanted to go to Agnes Scott down in Georgia. And my mother and father had never heard of Agnes Scott, and I had scarcely heard of it myself, but I knew I wanted to go there. But that fell on deaf ears. Then I wanted to go to Carroll College, and I could have gone to Carroll College. My mother and father approved of Carroll College. But then I became frightened, or I became lonesome. I thought, but Don is down at the university. I better go to the university.
Yeah.
If I don't go to the university, he'll find some other girl, and I will have lost out. And my mother and father and Agnes, Madeline Cleaver will be mad. So, never mind. Now tell us about you, Michael. We want to hear about you.
I went to Wheaton College down in Illinois.
I know it. And for the commencement speaker, we heard Billy Graham.
Yep.
I will never forget. And then subsequently after that, we heard Billy Graham at the Pittsburgh, First Presbyterian Church of Pittsburgh.
No, you heard that years before.
200th anniversary, maybe. The 200th anniversary. Don, what year was that?
What?
Holler at him. What year was the Pittsburgh Church 200th anniversary?
Well, that was the same year, 72.
Same year as what?
My birth.
Oh, as Michael's birthday. It was 72?
Yeah.
So that was founded in 1772, is what you're saying.
Yes.
Wow.
But anyway, that Billy Graham was the after-dinner speaker. So, turn there.
All right.
All right, sit up. Okay.
So we left off talking about college, and
We were going to ask Don about his earliest memories.
okay, let's start there then.
Well, my first memory that I can have is that I have been hooked by a cow in a pen that we had. We walked between the horse stalls and the pen, and the cow hooked me.
What's that mean? What's it mean to for
Her
a cow?
horn went through my cheek, and I have a dimple. And my memory comes from that because I was sitting in a high chair, probably the old high chair that was upstairs.
Still is, I
Kids
hope.
don't- Yeah, and I was sitting there in the high chair, and the only thing they could feed me was oatmeal, I think. And Carol Kelly was putting a switch in for the dining room light. And I can remember Carol Kelly, who had rickets and his hands were kind of funny, working there to put in that light switch. That's my first memory.
Okay. So you remember both the getting hooked by the cow.
No, I don't.
Okay, but you remember being in the chair afterwards.
Yes.
Okay.
How old were you about? Like a year and a half or two?
No, I was probably three and a half.
Okay. So Grandma has a good first memory. Yours is kind of. Yours is good.
It's good, but it was later.
Yeah.
He doesn't remember being a baby. He
No.
doesn't remember crying and screaming.
Okay. So then, Grandma told us about the first time you two may have met.
Now I
In
want to
Sunday
tell
school.
about one earlier than that.
Okay.
We ought to have music as a background of
He'll
this.
put it.
Oh, but he won't put it right. When I was about a year and a half in two, and I couldn't really walk, but I sort of could. But my father was a marvelous dancer. And we lived up there in the old Carver house over on Vine Street at that time. And my mother had one of these Victrolas, a crank up, you know, with the dog's head, his master's voice listening. Oh, I love that. It's a great memory to me. So she cranked up, and it was Tiptoe Through the Tulips or whatever, and my father could dance, just marvelous dancer. So anyway, he danced, and he danced with me, and he'd hold me in his arms.